What is clear is that this administration, including the president himself, has intentionally misinformed, read that, lied to the American people in the aftermath of this tragedy.
I sat here while Colin Powell provided the intelligence that he had regarding weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Ultimately, State Department personnel have to rely on the intelligence reports they're given.
Let me bring in Charles from Miami. And Charles, all of the things that you've heard from the panel, but we do have to say that Clapper did give Susan Rice some cover. He said that their initial impression was that this was a video.
But that doesn't make what he said true or plausible. Clearly, when the Tripoli station chief says it's a terror attack, that contradicts what Clapper said. I don't understand why what Clapper said afterwards is gospel, and yet what we know was actually happening at the time on September 11 and 12, 13, and 14 is ignored. We know that there was a lot of information that it was a terror attack, and we know that Susan Rice unequivocally said, it wasn't as if she was equivocating, said, well, it could be this, it could be that. The evidence is conflicting. Her story was the same. It got even stronger and less embellished with each one of the shows that she went on. She said there's no evidence otherwise, which obviously was not true. That's the question. And tomorrow's going to be the real event when Petraeus will testify. And he's the one who's got to explain how he could have shaded what he said at the time so strongly to one side when we know that it was actually not so, and when we would suspect that somebody of his intelligence and with all the information he had, he might have known it wasn't so. Was he being a team player? And if he was he doing it entirely in the name of the team? Or did he have a sense that he had to play with the team because of that other scandal that's out there that was hovering over him at the time? After all, the team had all the information about his situation, and he was still hoping that he would stay in his job and end up not being exposed.
So we just heard from Senator Saxby Chambliss, Vice Chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, after his closed hearing with top administration officials ended today. The three headlines I got out of that were that they were able to see videos from drones and from the consulate that showed in real time what was going on when the attack happened, and it sure looked to him like a terror attack, not like a mob. He said that was over. He believes that Susan Rice, when she appeared on the 5 Sunday talk shows, was delivering political talking points from the White House. And finally, he contradicted the statement of Paula Broadwell, the idea that possibly the CIA annex was holding Libyans as prisoners, and that's why the attack took place. Let's get reaction now from our panel. Charles Krauthammer in Miami, your reaction.
I thought what was most interesting about what the senator said was that he wasn't willing to allow the CIA or the intelligence community to be thrown under the bus and for have all the blame placed on them, which is clearly what the administration is trying to do. The president says Susan Rice was simply listening, repeating what the CIA and others had said, and he's saying, look, we've now begun to hear from the CIA and the rest of the intelligence community, and whatever their assessment was, this was a political statement coming from a president who was, remember, 1 week after a convention where they were dancing on the grave of bin Laden and saying al-Qaeda is dead, at a time when we now know that al-Qaeda affiliates were active all around North Africa and most likely behind this attack. So that it was a way to shade the story, emphasize, and as I said before, for Susan Rice to be unequivocal that it was a mob and not al-Qaeda, to maintain the administration narrative.
This has been a Sunfish production.